Many people in Britain today feel a sense of unease. They look at our society and worry about its future direction. Alarming concerns are beginning to rise to the surface, with more of these conversations happening daily. The major issue we as the British people face is the extreme Islamic infiltration of our country. The challenge of forced social cohesion impacts the status of the community while eroding the protection of British people and removes their rights, all while expecting local communities to live together with extremism, peacefully and successfully. These topics are sensitive and often fraught with emotion, but the time has come. It is crucial that we approach this with a calm mind and a commitment to Britain and its future. We must create a space for honest truth, dialogue around our issues, free from fear and judgment that dominates so much of public life. Our goal must be twofold and unwavering. We must rigorously defend Christianity and the fundamental rights and freedoms of every person born in the United Kingdom. These rights need to be not negotiable, nor should they be manipulated by other cultural or religious background. At the same time, we must actively consider the fact that some communities refuse to integrate into wider fabric of British society. This is not about assimilation. This is about erasing cultural identity. This should not be allowed. British people come from all backgrounds, races and cultures, yet some communities still intentionally remain isolated. When we discuss Islam, it has to be noted the number of challenges it brings, including its extreme religious beliefs and practices, the effects of Islam on women's rights. We have no choice but move beyond vague generalities. It is vital to speak about these specific, tangible problems, especially the issues women and girls face within certain closed communities in Britain. These harms are real and devastating. With protection given to extreme beliefs and behavior, women have no rights or freedoms. For example, young women in Islam belong to their fathers or husbands. They are denied the chance to pursue higher education or to have a career. They are denied their choice and must obey. Their aspirations are unfairly limited by Islam, and family structure dictates their life path for them. Women and young girls from the age of 9 are encouraged to cover up in an excessive religious practice. This custom is profound in Islam, yet clearly is theft of freedom and complete control of an individual and their future. How can this happen here, in England, today? This is only the beginning of grave concerns, with inbreeding and cousin marriage, incest, becoming increasingly common and abhorrent practice of forced marriage. Forced marriage is not the same as an arranged marriage where both parties consent. Incest marriage is equally disgusting and causes extreme disabilities and medical conditions, which only add to NHS problems. A forced marriage is one where an individual, usually a woman, is coerced into a union against her will, often through emotional blackmail, threats, or even physical violence. This is a fundamental violation of freedom, her autonomy, and is rightly illegal in the United Kingdom. So why is this still happening? Alongside this, we see a large number of instances across Islam of controlling and coercive behavior by male members of Islam where they dictate freedoms, social ties, and restrict finances. This, in England, is called abuse. Mental, physical, and emotional, all while restricting finances. Why are the police not investigating this crime? It is absolutely essential to state that these practices are not inherent to British society or culture. We do not want it here. Incest, inbreeding, controlling behavior, and abuse of children are all highly frowned upon. So why are they becoming normal in the vast majority of Muslims areas in the UK? Unfortunately, the successful integration of Islamic communities has failed. It required effort, understanding, and the removal of significant barriers, the acceptance of national identity and cultural, free from prejudice, from all participants. This has not happened. One of the most fundamental aspects to state is how this seemingly simple concept only applies to English British people. National identity and culture have been rejected and are actively being destroyed. With growing numbers of Islamic-only areas and extreme levels of police lenience made for Muslims only, with hundreds of examples of this happening daily across all platforms online. This is only getting worse. We now have an alarmingly growing population which have illegally gained access to our country. They cannot speak English fluently, they have no idea about basic English culture, their ability to navigate daily life is extremely limited. This means they are not economic migrants and will not find meaningful employment. This is draining public services with no interest to integrate outside their immediate circle. This has only helped this crisis by creating these pockets of corruption within British culture. Muslim self-isolation, where Islamic misinformation and religious extremism is allowed to fester and spread. How can we accept illegal extremism Islam to establish minority communities and continue to promote radical religious intolerance, creating extreme criminals? Thousands of unwanted new arrivals enter the UK every week, with more males than ever before illegally entering our borders. This is not stopping. Even with high rates of national poverty and unemployment growing, immigration is still being driven by government. The government has to answer directly for its actions. Their position is to serve the British public, not sell us out, which they have done consistently. This is discrimination by the government, treasonous behaviour against its own population, facilitating the erosion of British culture and creating more unwanted Islamic areas. Furthermore, Islamic views are being prioritised over Christian values, such as the liquidation of Christian festivals in schools such as Easter and Christmas nativity. This, coupled with inappropriate and offensive advertising of Islamic holidays in public spaces, with alarming numbers of entitlement in social interaction online, where Muslims expect British people not to eat in public during Ramadan. This extremism does not belong in schools, workplaces, or public neighbourhoods. This is a Christian society and should be celebrated as such. These radical religious fanatics have no place here. They fail in communication and have no willingness to learn about our culture, effectively using small misunderstandings against British people to grow into larger social divides, causing racial tension, which are exploited by Islamic extremists. It is crucial to understand the weaponization of race and racism within Islam to ensure the destruction of Western societies. Islamic extremists have learned to use British values against itself, such as fairness and equality. Turning English values into a weapon, we must analyze this with care and avoid simplistic explanations. Along with the weaponized economic policy, inflation from Islamic educational provision, and the manipulation of social use of historical failures are being used to brainwash British Muslims and convert British people to extreme Islam. This agenda has been artificially engineered to promote a racist, unfavourable view of British society, manufactured intentionally to justify individual extremists and their radical prejudices against England and its people. Section 4. Wolf in sheep clothing, the wider impact. The challenges related to Britain and British culture is growing daily. This problem is being alleviated by governance and the lack of support for indigenous British people. Traitor Keir Starmer, placing foreign nationals' rights over our own, this is unforgivable and treasonous. This poison has seeped in, creating a poisonous effect which has been felt across British society and the social fabric of the United Kingdom. This must stop. We, as the people, do not want any more immigration. We do not want Islam. There is now too much strain on UK public services, without the continuing abuse by foreign nationals on national health care. Islam should have zero impact on schools or to be prioritized over Christianity, as it doesn't belong here. The pressure healthcare professionals face, meeting patients who cannot communicate in English, receiving medical treatment from national health services. Even with English-speaking Muslims, professionals raise privacy concerns with male family members, controlling women as a gatekeeper, only complicating diagnosis and care. Social workers struggled with the number of cases where they must intervene because of domestic abuse or forced marriage, yet rendered powerless due to the massive protection created by Islamic religion, cultural barriers and fears of being labelled insensitive or racist. The inappropriate protective measures provided security, for those who are engaged in this manipulation. Misinformation and issues are thrown around as religious persecution or inequality, with both arguments dominating and removing power from English people. Tensions are only becoming increasingly heightened daily. Entitlement is rampant, with British people being chastised and criticized in our country when we do not want Islam. This needs to change, as the English people do not come second, and we no longer want Islam to have any influence here. We do not need Islamic dress codes, Islamic call to prayers, or Islamic social events. The idiotic support from government for Islamic religion is only creating a more difficult environment. This harms all British individuals. Britain has been multiracial for many decades, with no weakness to the national identity. But within generations, Islamic corrosion is elaborately clear. These tensions are only getting worse. They continue to spill over into the British public arena, allowing intimidation with mass demonstrations of Islamic prayer in the streets, support for Islamic street preachers, and harassment against Christian missionaries in the streets. This is not equality, this is abuse of power and mismanagement of racism, all designed to fuel the Islamic narrative, therefore Islamic extremists, with support and protection from the British police. This has created a weak sense of British culture, with a toxic political government run by a traitor, blindly supporting foreign interests over our country. The moderate, sensible voices are drowned out by the lunacy of Keir Starmer and likes of with traitor ideologies. The cumulative effect is an erosion of social, cultural, the destruction of English society, and the continued Islamic takeover. We want back our communities. We do not want to live parallel lives. Nor should we be allowing misunderstandings to be manufactured into racist weapons which are becoming rife. The time has come for action. We must remove the political actors, these traitors seeking to divide us. We must rebuild our bonds and remove the problem reclaiming our nation. Rebuilding trust requires addressing the underlying Islamic problems honestly, removing all those who don't believe in British culture or identity without generalization or hesitation. Time to stop feeding the political system that freely give power to foreign nationals, creating fear of being labeled racist. We have to be courageous about this. Section 5. Our shield, apparently, the law and universal human rights. In the face of these complex challenges, we do have a guide. The United Kingdom was built upon a firm foundation of law. Unfortunately, now that laws has been compromised by a commitment to universal human rights. This framework is designed as a shield, yet despite this does not protect every single person. You would think living on this soil, England, regardless of their gender, ethnicity, religion, background, would protect you. No, this is a lie. The principles of equality should not be justice and should be optional extras or mere suggestions. With English law protecting English people first, this isn't the case. They are implemented as the bedrock of our democratic society, meaning human rights protection is for others before ourselves, including sexual predators, murderers, extremist, terrorist criminals from across the Islamic world. The rule of law should be to protect our country and protect our people. Our prisons are full of non-native criminals, which we protect and allow to radicalize others. This legal framework is unfortunately broken. Defense of Britain and English rights have no relevance whatsoever to Muslims. The Equality Act 2010 provides robust protection against discrimination on the grounds of sex, but fails to protect the national population from living with a rape every 57 minutes in London. Laws protect the rapist from deportation. They fail against forced marriage and inbreeding. Female genital mutilation law enforcement had no impact. Coercive control over English people by Islamic people send a clear message that these practices are not cultural matters but criminal acts. These laws need to change with law apply to everyone. Zero tolerance on any form of discrimination against British people or culture. The claim that harmful actions are permissible due to a particular interpretation of religion holds no weight in a British court. Islam has no place here. Our legal system wrongly prioritizes others, safety, autonomy, fundamental rights of any foreign Islamic individual, over any communal British values or customs. This only seeks to violate British life. It is vital that we consistently and clearly articulate these principles. Individuals from other countries who are guilty of crimes should be deported regardless. Respect for British culture and values has to become compulsory and answerable before the law. We must actively promote British culture in our schools, public institutions, civic life. This is a Christian country, and we should not allow an invasive religion to discriminate against British culture. Britain is multiracial. British culture has no race. English people are multiracial. It is about establishing the non-negotiable rules for people coming to live in England, understanding Britain, England, its way of living, and respecting that Islam share no values and has no place in English culture or British society. This needs to be the non-negotiable cornerstone to stop the successful completion of the Islamic infiltration currently occurring. There is no integration coupled with Christian victimization. We must be clear and steady about this. Section 6. Forging a better future. Practical pathways to progress. Condemning problems is easy. Building solutions is hard. We must move beyond rhetorical and embrace practical, targeted interventions. We cannot allow our way of life and society destroyed. This is Great Britain first and foremost. British education is key. Robust change for English schools, Christianity and British culture must take priority over all other cultures and religions. Children must speak the English language to attend school and education. We should not be forced to teach English first. We must change free education, as this is a national resource and should not be accessible to all, along with the NHS. The school curriculum should actively teach students English values, fundamental British rights, and the principles of equality and respectful relationships without limiting our identity. Education should empower young British individuals with knowledge and pride in their country and its achievements. We must educate our young people in their rights and give them tools to participate fully in society, not allowing them to be vulnerable in their own country. Second, we must strengthen the support services that act as a lifeline in crisis. Ensure specialist organisations such as NHS, as previously mentioned, should no longer be abused and drained by non-British people. This is a national resource, paid for by the public and needs to be supported for the people who paid. We need to start closing shelters and stop funding housing for illegal immigrants. Stop providing legal aid. Instead, look at long-term funding for deportation. The country is already suffering from a housing shortage, and we have a responsibility to protect our citizens before housing unwanted, unskilled immigrants who have extreme beliefs. We must be strong and take extreme measures. We must inform certain groups who also need to be asked to leave or be removed. Any foreign nationals who have committed crimes against women. Anyone involved in commitment of forced marriages. All foreign nationals who are married within their own family, cousins. Any foreign national perpetrator of domestic abuse, and anyone with history of honor-based violence. Considerations should be made for women fleeing domestic violence and survivors of honor killings, although those who will seek help must be prepared to have evidence, or they should be deported without discrimination. Police and social workers should be collaborating with community organizations. They need to stop this prejudiced two-tier policing system and favoring foreign policy and religious belief. We must create a seamless network of protection for British population, not Islam. Third, champion and resource community-led initiatives. Christian holidays need to be celebrated, more Christian dialogues, community rebuilding, cultural British festivals. No longer should we celebrate alien cultures and religions. We should celebrate and promote engagement with British cultures and have pride in British civic values. Finally, actively promote Christian female leadership from all backgrounds. Christian values should be visible in local government, part of schools, businesses, and media. This is not a Muslim country, so we need to stop allowing street praying, and the call to prayer will no longer be tolerated. It is offensive and unwanted. The prison role models with extreme beliefs must be dismantled and all prisoners deported. We must collaboratively be removing Islamic structures from within our society. Islamophobia is a created concept. It does not exist. Created to give away more power. Well, here's a word, Antichrist, and Islam is definitely anti-Christian, therefore anti-British, anti-English, anti-law and rule. Islam is an anti-Christian system. We no longer want Islam in Britain. This needs steady and practical commitment. Section 7. Conclusion. Choosing England over Islam. No more fear. The challenges facing Britain regarding British rights and social cohesion are significant, but they are not insurmountable. The path forward requires a delicate balance. Britain was once Great Britain because of who we are and what we stand for. We must remember Great Britain and be unflinching in our defence. We must introduce rights that protect every British person. We must not be afraid to claim back our land. We must start the deporting of Islamic foreign nationals. We have to be intelligent. We have almost lost our identity through integration. With those who do not integrate but violate and complain. This is not a zero-sum game. This is the future of British culture and its people. Britain was a society where people were free and empowered, made stronger by their country, healthcare system, and prosperous for everyone. This is being taken. We can no longer afford to be allowing the destruction of our society. We cannot allow a backward religion and culture replace us. We must reject simplistic, dangerous inclusion narratives peddled by government officials who protect extremists. We must refuse to blame individuals and insist the whole Islamic religion is removed. Islamic communities do not condemn these terrorists and extremism, so should pay for the actions of a criminal minority as a whole. The law needs to change and stop the practice of extreme religion in Britain. The morality of the public has been used against us. The information we are given is wrong. England has been strategically foolish. Muslims alienate the vast majority of British people. They have come of their own accord, yet constantly cry victim, race about British people who are patriotic, Christian and law-abiding citizens. We now need the most effective agents for positive change. These often come from radical ideas and change within our communities. We need this now. It has become crucial for our future. We must ally against extremism and division. We must say no to Islam. We must choose Great Britain. Our strategy needs to apply the law to all, guaranteeing that no individual using human rights can have deportation overridden. No exceptions made for culture or religion, no religious beliefs to be over Christian beliefs. We must make education an engine of intention. Legal immigrants should adopt British values, language and culture, with the government facilitating the removal of everyone else without prejudice. What can we do now? Invest in local Christian services that protect Christian values. Help our own vulnerable people build bridges between neighbours and make a community. Empower women to become leaders and ensure their voices are heard. Stand up to cancellation of any Christian celebration. This is no longer acceptable. We must not allow other religions to dictate our lives and beliefs. Ultimately, the future of our country depends on the choices we make now. We can choose fear, stay silent and be taken over by extreme Islam, or choose courage, say no to Islamic control, and keep commitment to the nation. We can choose Great Britain. Let us rebuild our Christian society based on British rights and values. We must insist other cultures show respect. New laws to protect British people first. We must begin empowering national culture and make it part of individual identities. We must keep Britain a beacon of freedom and fairness for British people. We must remember this is our Great Britain. Let's be bold and do that.